Welcome, everybody, to The Power of New. We are your hosts, Mark and Julie Appleyard, here at Johnatan Global Ministries, here in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
I know. We've been working really hard to get this teleprompter to work, and just seconds ago, it worked fabulously. Trust me. But here we are.
But now I don't even remember what's
that
next.
is quite okay.
So
but the cool thing is, though, is this
Hi.
is a podcast with a difference.
It is a podcast with a difference.
Yeah,
we want the interaction. We love the back and forth.
Yeah.
We
Right.
love the questions. We love all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're watching on Facebook Live,
Yeah.
LinkedIn, or YouTube, now or later on, we'd really value your comments in the comments section.
Yeah, exactly right. Because relationship is what's important. Relationship is what's key. And this podcast is actually founded by listeners just like you. So if you want to donate towards the Johnatan Global Ministries here, you can see on the ticker that goes along the bottom there a link that you can click on. Well, you won't be able to click it on the link, but just see it, write it down, and you can give through there. Also in the session notes, if you're listening on the podcast later in the week, then the session notes will have that link there. And of course, if you're a US resident or a US-based business, and there goes the teleprompter right now.
Awesome.
And we're back.
Absolutely no control whatsoever. Your donation is, of course, tax deductible.
Okay, I'm just going to interject a little bit here and digress totally from our normal introduction. We did pray for joy. We did pray for joy.
This is great.
And we're all just sitting here killing ourselves laughing because this thing's got a mind of its own. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
If you would like to write a complaint to Apple, please feel free to put our names at the bottom of that. But today, no, seriously,
That's
we've
kinda cool.
amazing guests, and not just guests, but friends.
Yeah.
Special guests and friends of Johnatan, Johnatan and Carla Romero. They are local to Charlotte.
Yeah.
We normally at this point would read through a lengthy bio,
Right.
but they are sitting right here. So
In the
flesh.
let's just hand it over to them, introduce them, and let them speak for themselves. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you first
you.
and foremost for having us, guys. And it is quite fitting that we would have the technical difficulties because we feel like we're in family.
Yes, right.
And so,
That's what happens.
It should be business casual, not so business, right? So, but yeah, no, we're just so grateful to be here and just to be among family and grateful to both of you for what you've poured into us over the years and just, the spiritual growth that we've had in our home, in our relationship and in our family is greatly attributed to a lot of our gatherings that you guys just so faithfully and generously just pour into us. So first and foremost, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Both for that
Love
gift
y'all.
of your time and your wisdom and knowledge and just following the Spirit and the Lord's guiding and what you do so well. So my name's Johnatan, my wife Carla here. We do live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and oh gosh, a little bit about us. I do work, and so I'm in mortgage lending in the banking industry, and
in actual fact, the only reason we are sitting here is because of the fact that you were on the team to help us get this.
There we
So
go.
big thanks, or we wouldn't even be
true.
here doing this.
Yes, everybody thanks you.
Jan, of course, that's right. Jan's there as
team
well.
and-
That's right.
Yeah.
She was our matchmaker here
She
as well.
was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is the master matchmaker.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
But yeah, this is a gift, and so being a part of people's major milestones in their lives when they're embarking on the journey of home ownership and helping them kind of manage their debt holistically is kind of a role that I really enjoy on the 9-to-5 side. My wife, she gets no vacations, no holidays, and no
true.
PTO. She
That's
is
right.
full-time mom.
And usually underpaid, I would imagine.
highly
yeah.
underpaid.
Sometimes
Underpaid
underpaid.
I hear you.
Kisses and wiping noses.
Quarterly reviews and no gold
No
stars.
sticker chart.
Right.
Yeah. There's got to be a mom
but
sticker chart out there
She's
somewhere.
got the hardest
There should
job
be.
between the both of us for sure, and does it so well. She executes flawlessly and is is so it's so intentional and meticulous and just detail oriented and
Maybe
everything
too
that
much.
she
Maybe
does.
too much sometimes.
And so we get the gift of raising two little ones. We've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So our 7-year-old girl and 4-year-old boy who keep us on our toes.
That's right.
And are teaching us all about God's love and encounter.
And patience.
Love.
Patience.
Oh, yeah.
So much
Grace
patience.
and mercy.
Yes.
And I love the comment that you made earlier about, taking photos down at the beach. And it's like, quick, okay, now stop being 4 just for a second
Right.
so that we can take these photos.
Right. Pull it together real quick. Be an adult.
Self-regulate.
Yeah.
There's a mirror there where I see it manifests a little differently as an adult, but I see the immaturity of myself in my
She got that
4-year-old
from me, or he got that
my
from me.
Wow.
Ooh, ouch.
Say,
Or
yeah.
hey, he got that from me.
there's a
You know,
mirror.
the proud moment.
I say, okay, you're having a tantrum. I don't do it that way, but there's this same thing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm you're right.
I don't like
I'm
what's
fighting
happening.
my
Yes.
father on something, or
Right.
I'm not obedient, or I'm choosing to hear, out of my own flesh and not out of the Lord's, word. And so there's these similarities that I find that he's been teaching us all sorts of great lessons, and we are growing and maturing spiritually through our trying to represent,
Right.
present the Father again to our children and in His love. So anyway,
Amen.
that's
That's good.
it's quite the journey.
Well, Carla, I
Yes.
mean, you guys, Romero and not Romero before you met, that
Right.
sounds like two very different backgrounds, just simply
A
in the
little
name.
bit.
What's in a name?
A little
So tell
bit.
us a little bit about the varying backgrounds, because
Yeah.
as we understand it, this
Right.
is a bicultural family.
Right. Yes. That's right. So I am as country as cornbread from the upstate South Carolina. And this little Latin lover walked into my life. In 2012, technically, but we were just friends for a while before we decided to embark on taking him out of the friend zone and putting him into the romance zone.
That took some work.
I made him work
She
for
made
it.
That took
Earn
every
it.
Yes.
bit of Latin background.
Yes. Latins are apparently known for their endurance, and Southerners are known for our stubbornness. So here we are.
Good combination.
Right, it is. But we've had to learn a lot. We've had to yield a lot. So while Jonathan actually came to America from Colombia, South America, when he was 6 years old. So by environment, and to North Carolina. So by environment, he's been exposed to the Southern way of life. But at home, everything is very Latin, and things are done very differently. And so bringing those two cultures together has had its challenges, but at the same time, it's been quite beautiful to learn and to yield. It's taught us a lot about yielding. It's really easy not to yield when you're not presented with something different. But we have learned in many, many ways how to yield to each
honoring
other.
those differences,
Right.
and trying to implement those and finding ways that we're pulling the best of both worlds to create our culture in our home.
Something that we actually just got back on Thursday from our annual grandparents getaway is what we call it. So since our daughter's been born, so now this is the 7th year of us doing it, where we take my parents and Jonathan's parents on just a quick weekend getaway with our kids, where they could focus on just our kids, because within my family, I have 3 sisters, so my parents have several grandkids. And in his family, he's the only child, so for his mother. So these are her only grandchildren. But it's just a really nice opportunity for us to bring both of those cultures together and watch the interactions play out. It's really funny. Our dads are actually quite similar, but because of the language difference, I mean, his dad speaks English, and my dad also sort of speaks English. But seeing them together, their personalities are very similar. And so watching that play out is super sweet. Yeah.
Cultures collide.
Yes.
In all the best ways.
It's an integration, not so much a clash.
right.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I think I'm listening to you talk, and what I'm noticing, what I'm hearing is it's almost a prophetic picture of how God wants to bring nations together.
Wow.
Like, we talk a lot about nations
Yeah, we do.
here. We talk a lot about bringing Jesus to the nations. But in order to bring Jesus to the nations, we have to make allowances we have to make space, we have to have an integration,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
not a clash, as you say.
Right.
The
but-
word yield.
And the yielding, when we go into a different nation, there's a lot of yielding that happens. It's kind of like, we watch what happens in a church service. We watch what happens in just general culture. And rather than trying to impose what we're used to and what we think is right into those situations, we have to yield. We have to kind of sit back and go, this is how they've done it for centuries.
Yes. Sure.
How dare I come in and tell them that they need to do this differently?
Right.
We go into a country like Romania that's just come out of communism, and they're trying to find their way out of that oppression. And how dare we go in there and tell them how this should be done? Here in the West, we're not doing it that much better than anybody else in the world. So how dare we come in?
Right.
That yielding, that allowing that space. And I just see in you guys a particular. I'm reading Ezekiel, which is probably where it's coming from, because everything that the Lord tells Ezekiel to do is a prophetic picture of something else that the Lord is doing. Sorry, I'm hitting your microphone because I'm talking big with my hands. But your marriage is a prophetic picture of what the Lord is doing and wanting to do in the nations.
Yeah.
I think.
Thank you.
That was just
that's beautiful.
what was coming.
That's beautiful.
When you were sharing that, what came to mind is just the invitation to a difference, right? It's so oftentimes that we, if you're growing up, for example, Carla and her family background is they've been in the same area,
Same house.
Well, her parents have been in the same house, but even her family for generations have been there since before the Civil War?
Before the Declaration of Independence was
goodness.
signed. Yes.
Wow.
So, you can imagine being
That'd be worth going around the outside with a metal detector.
Right.
and to be born into that family, that setting, growing up in that community, and kind of continuing to grow deeper and deeper roots, you would say, well, this is who I am. This is where this is how we do things. This is how we belong.
Yeah.
But just introducing this different place, that's how things go here, but now we can travel to a different country, and I'm familiar with what that looks like because we are doing it here in our home.
Right.
And so that's been a gift that we've been able to give our children when we've traveled back to Colombia, and they speak the language, and they can interact with not only their cousins, but aunts and uncles and grandparents and family. And it's just this, when you were sharing about the prophetic picture of it, I thought, well, even both of you, in your families, you've brought them from a land of your own and brought them here. There's been some yielding, but you've held on to, well, this is who we are.
That's right.
Right.
And in that prophetic picture, there's also this mindset of like, okay, we're here, but this is temporary, and kingdom is eternal, and
That's who you are.
that's who you are. This is your identity. And so it's introducing just something different so that you're not so planted in the ground with a flag that says, okay, this is all I am.
Right.
Yeah.
And now everybody else has to shift in order to allow me to keep being all I am.
I think that's interesting too. As I sit and look, even here we've got three nations represented sitting right here.
Right.
That's cool.
And we all look at the lens through the lens of very different perspectives.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yet when we yield, all of a sudden we go, oh, come around to this perspective and let's have a look at the nature of the Father's heart.
Right.
Let's have a look from that perspective. And then, okay, well, you come around and have a look from my perspective. And when we carry humility and we yield, all of a sudden we all get a much bigger picture of the nature and character of God.
That's right.
And it's beautiful. I think over the many dinners we've shared now.
Yeah.
And you were saying at the beginning that we've been a blessing to you, that reciprocated. Because we always come away going, oh my gosh, I just got a whole new glimpse of the kingdom of God. Because through your lens and your lens and the way you guys pursue and go after him as well as each other, it's really instructive, and you're doing it from the lens of your own nation, in many ways that is just like, oh my gosh, that's just the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So many things that I could jump on. Wow.
Let's go.
Yes, we hear, Carla's insights. I mean, Jonathan's, yes. Yeah, you have great
she's the
insights.
digger.
But this
She-
woman,
she
oh
goes
my
deep.
goodness.
We married
We're
very
the
similar.
deep. We're the
We go
deep.
really,
Yes.
really
Oh,
deep.
yeah.
And
You're the fast and far.
That's it. We have further and deeper, beautifully represented right
we
here.
do.
So that's the first thing, and I want to draw out some of that for everybody to hear, because that's really important.
Yeah.
But the lens that we look through, each of us looks through a lens that is like it's one dimensional.
Right.
It's flat.
Right.
This is the lens
Right.
that we
Yeah.
look through. But when you're talking, and we often think of God as a multifaceted diamond, come around and look at him from this side and look at him from this side, but I feel like his lens is multifaceted as well.
Wow.
It's not just what we're looking at is multifaceted, but
Yeah.
the lens that we're looking through is multifaceted, and
Good.
and there will be a point where there's a weird conjunction of this lens and that lens where there's always a middle ground. There's always it's never an either or. I
Right.
feel with God,
Right.
it's I don't know. There's something in that. I'll
Yeah.
just give you that one to kind of think on and
Good.
Chew on
and,
it.
and chew on and,
Yeah.
and
But I-
or spit it out because it might be gristly, but who knows?
But I think it speaks to, again, we go back to the way Jesus interacted with people. And the way that, hey, Jesus, tell us about the kingdom of God. Now, he could have given a very concrete answer. He
Right.
could have said, well, it's big.
Right.
It goes for a long time.
Right.
It starts now, and there's going to
Ends
be
about
more of it
then.
you're going to see a little bit later on. It's just like, well, he could have. But instead of that, he says stuff like, well, the kingdom of God is like a farmer who scatters some seed, and some
Right.
fell on this. And you simply go, hang on, I asked about the
Yeah.
Right.
kingdom.
Right.
And I'm getting the
Lenses.
message
You're
on
giving like farming tips.
Weird conjunctions of different lenses.
Yeah. But what it does is it expands our thinking.
Right.
And,
Yes.
and causes us to ask new questions
Yes.
and fresh questions. And when we
Yes.
ask different questions, we know in leadership, when we ask different questions, we start to see different things. Now, often in our times in coaching leaders, when people go, well, I'm smacking against this wall. It's, well, have you thought to ask a different question?
Yeah.
And if you don't know the question, have you thought of asking Jesus, what's the
What's the
question
next
you
question?
want to
Right.
ask?
That's
Right.
There you go.
Let's not think we've got to figure everything out and have all the
Right.
questions. Have you sat long enough and asked him, hey, what do I need to hear?
Yeah.
Just I don't know. I love that when we follow the heart of who Jesus is.
Yeah.
We actually don't put things in boxes. We actually expand thinking and look through different lenses.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. That's how my mind's wired. Just to see things, I guess maybe how Jesus did parables. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
how my mind is wired.
Yeah.
When I did work, I was working in a network marketing company, and that's how I presented that business opportunity to people, is to not just say like, oh, well, here's the company and here's the compensation plan and here are the products. That would be the step 1, step 2, step 3. But rather, to say, this business is like, business is like. And back in 2020, the Lord asked me to lay that business down. It's a beautiful company. I still love them dearly. There was absolutely nothing wrong, but I could see how I was creating a bit of an idol out of it and finding my identity in that. But even so, God showed me how he used that time to sharpen a skill to be able to communicate kingdom concepts with people around me and be like, the kingdom is like, and just kind of expanding off of some of those beautiful timeless examples that Jesus gave us as we come along people and just kind of explain those different perspectives. As I see it this way, you see it that way. Neither one of us are wrong. Let's just link arms and put all of our logs, so to speak, in the middle and let the fire fall. And he'll show, he'll burn off what's maybe not meant to be there, and what will remain is what he wants us to see,
that's good,
in
Carla.
that. So it's something I work on, but I think it's something that the Lord really has been walking me through for a long time.
Yeah. I actually want to just zero in on that a little bit. We had the chance and the honor to speak at the Gate this Friday night, and one of the things that came up it was a Q&A time, but it was around this, how do we coach people? What are some of the things that we do and that? And one of the first things, we were giving the illustration of John Wesley, the great revivalist, and was that with him at 1 Peter 1:15-16, where it was a verse that really spoke to him, be holy because I am holy. And so he put a plan for holiness in place. In the language today, we would say, have you got a spiritual growth plan?
Right.
What are you doing with your own spiritual life? Is it ad hoc?
Are you intentional about it?
That's right. And what we've observed both in our own lives and in the lives of others, as those who truly become, actually, let me say that again. What we've observed in the lives of others, those that transition from being an echo to becoming a voice, there's not one that does not have an intentional process to discovering more of who he is and learning more about themselves. And it is intentional. In actual fact, it goes beyond that to even hyper-intentional, that is really focused. And a lot of, people from the outside looking in will go, well, that's just performance, that's just, treadmill stuff, and you're trying to earn your, favor with God or whatever. No. People who are a voice recognize that's actually a different motivation.
Yes.
Right.
I'm really interested, and not just I know, we are both really interested to have you guys unpack, because I'm sure it's different for both of you in many ways, because you're different people. What does it look like when you guys, let's just take us through a bit of a week, to go after the heart of the Father? Is there things you read? Is there way you pray? Is there how you position yourself with your time? And tell us a little bit about that, because we recognize across many spheres, you guys are amazing leaders, and you are a voice in those spaces. So talk to us a bit about that.
I think I have to brag on my wife, I think, to start off with, because she really, Carla's really hungry for the things of the Lord, and it motivates me. So I think first and foremost, my routine is inspired and motivated because of the foundation that she lays. And she lays that foundation at 4 a.m. So the bar starts really high. Carla wakes up very early in the morning, and it's because, again, she is, her no PTO, no days off and no time off. So she's got to work her window, right? The window of time when the kids aren't, needing something. But she wakes up early and just really presses in with the Lord. And she's very studious. She's a digger, and she loves digging and mining for gold. And she oftentimes finds it. And so then she'll come in and share some of those golden nuggets with me after her hours of
with it. He's still like waking up. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what I just heard.
So it comes fast.
So I want to hear more, but I want to just stop on something right there. Now, there are a lot of people who go, 4 a.m., does it even come twice a day? But how do you do that with little kids? Maybe at the other end of the day, do you go to bed early?
Super early.
Okay.
We say
so another discipline right there.
We say miracle mornings start with discipline nighttime routines. So we have a very structured nighttime routine with the kids, and getting them to bed at a certain hour so that we can spend time together connecting for a little bit before our heads need to hit the pillow.
Right.
And then also a shameless plug here for something that I get no kickback on whatsoever, but it's the sunrise alarm clock. It is the best invention made. It just gradually simulates a sunrise in your room right before the alarm goes off. So a lot of times I'll wake up and it's like 3:55 before my alarm goes off, and I'm like, oh, I'm wide awake. This is great. But I've also had 7 hours of sleep prior, but it wakes me up, because otherwise I'm not a natural morning person at all. Like on the weekends, I do that Monday through Friday, Saturdays and Sundays, because I think it's important to model to my children not only the importance of discipline, but the importance of rest. So on Saturdays and Sundays, they know that I come downstairs in my pajamas, with my sleep mask still hanging off, and I'm sleeping in until 7 or 8 o'clock if he lets me, and takes the kids out of the house for a walk. So that the importance of rest, because I don't, growing up in just more traditional evangelical style church, striving was a big emphasis. Unintentional, but it was there. And so for me, I heard kind of just joining what you just said, but about a year ago, I guess it's been about a year, it was last October, the Lord woke me up 5 times with a message for the leaders of our church. But I don't think it was just for them. I think it's for the body at large, but they're just the ones that I yield to in a spiritual sense. But the words were rest and receive. It's time to rest and receive. And so just such simple words, but then he added to that rest, receive, release was about 5 months after that he added to it. And so really, as much as I love to dig, and I do love to dig, and just spend hours, I mean, the stack of books that I have, I've read through the Bible multiple times. You can see my different colors of pens highlighting it at different times, at different seasons. You can barely see the actual scripture anymore because I've written all over the margins. But I'm in this season now of learning how to just sit and rest in order to receive the revelations from him and not necessarily go after them, but allow him to impart them to me.
Yeah. So I'm hearing a couple of things there. Is that you've got discipline on the front end and on the back end of your day. Wayne Cordero, Pastor Wayne Cordero, taught me way back in Hawaii was that get your sleep in on the front end of your sleep. So you're actually getting your sleep in by going to bed early. There's your sleep in, and then you get up and hit 4 a.m. and away you go.
That's right.
And so the discipline of that is really key and really important. But then when you've got the time, there's actually some intentionality to the way that you're going after it. There's a process. It's not just, again, not ad hoc.
Right.
You've got books you're reading, there's scriptures you're learning, and you're allowing the scripture read you as much as you're reading it because you're writing on it and you're interacting with it. There's actually real process and intentionality around that. So I know I stopped you short there, so continue on.
Well, there's, and I'll let you share a lot more deeply into what your process is, because she does really have you flip through her books and there's absolutely, it's covered in notes. It's, color coded. It's got, there's just,
It's a girl after my own heart.
It looks like a world domination plan written in the margins. It's circles, it's arrows, it's stars.
Yeah, you name it, it's there. And she has these very profound thoughts and very deep wells that she digs into in the morning. Yeah. And then she's surrounded by a 4 and a 7-year-old all day, and so she can't wait to release. And so she does that with me in the morning. But recently she's found a better outlet for that and just writing everything down, and it's been a gift. But my time, particularly, I guess the process is, I like to spend time with the Lord first thing in the morning, and just and it might look very differently from day to day, but actually this is something you taught me, and it goes back years where you just said, hey, before my feet hit the ground in the morning, I've committed to saying yes, Lord, and I don't know what the question is, but my answer is yes. And that was such a journey for me throughout even the first year of my own personal growth. It became a habit that I needed to first build. It was like a muscle that I needed to build, discipline. And then once I built it, the Lord started highlighting it to me throughout the day and said, oh, wait, remember what you told me this morning?
Right.
Remember that time you said yes?
Right. Let's rewind.
That's right. I did say that. Oh, okay. Yeah. And so, then I had to build another muscle of recognizing his voice and recognizing his presence and walking in obedience and all those things, and that took some time and a while, but then I really have enjoyed walking and seeing the fruit of that whole process and the faithfulness in that, because I do get to be surrounded by people who are making really big decisions on a regular basis, and I get to listen to his voice. I get to yield and just recognize when he's in that moment and in that interaction, and knowing that everything's intentional, and really just being able to pour out what he's been pouring into me through those interactions. And so
I think practically speaking, in your industry, especially mortgage industry, not the greatest year for the mortgage business. And I think typically a lot of people in that field would be very nervous and feeling like they need to, like, hungry hippo. I don't know if you remember that game we played with our kids a lot. Just got to grab all the marbles. I got to get all the marbles. And but for him to still just have that confidence in hearing the Lord's voice and being able to say, okay, this application, this client, this deal is not for me, and let it go in total peace because
so good.
His father said, let it go,
Okay.
instead of being like, but, like this could be a big one, and this could pay our mortgage, or whatever the case, it's just that practical discipline of him doing that in his day-to-day life really pays out. And it shows so much, just to brag on him, at work. I think in that industry, you can really see people. We talked about this a little bit ahead of time, but just in what success looks like. Success in his industry can look very different from how Johnatan operates and defines success. Success in the mortgage industry can typically look like the bigger house, the vacation home, the fancy cars, and material things. But for him, that's not success. Success for him is being present with the family, being able to come home and have dinners with us, because we do have a nighttime routine that if he's not there for, he will miss,
Right.
And I will miss out.
And he'll miss out. And the kids are sad. So just, that is success for him. We just recently, earlier this year, his parents were able to move into a house right beside us, and him being able to pour into that and provide that way, like, that's success,
That's good. And again, I'm loving hearing it, and I'm recounting some of our own stories of that as well. And they were just like you, Carla, real intentional things you put in our household that even now, I mean, I'm just thinking of our dinner time here. To the point where sometimes we feel like the kids now, but we're getting ready to eat our dinner, and if everyone's not there, Dane goes, "We can't eat yet. We've got to wait till everybody sits at the table."
Yes.
And it's like, that's right. We taught you
We
that,
did
didn't
teach
we?
that to you. Yes.
We ingrained that into you.
And
now
it's
he's
hot. Eggs are not good cold.
and he's trying to instill that
Yeah.
into our grandson
Yes.
at the moment, and teach him good etiquette and and all of
Yes.
those kinds of things.
But they
So-
come back to this. I mean, again, those routines that you very intentionally put in place, that, hey, we have dinner, we sit as a family, this is what it looks like.
Right.
To the point where back then, in those early years, we were pastoring a more standard stylistically of church, I suppose. We were pastoring back then, and also running an electrical subcontracting business at the same time. But would do my very best to be home on time every night. And if I had meetings in the night time, even if I was chairing the board, I would say on the agenda, the stuff I need to be there for happens after 7 p.m. because I will be home to have dinner with the kids and help put them to bed. And that was, I mean, obviously over the course of years, there's a few exceptions, but the rule was that.
And not everybody understands that. Not everybody's okay with that. Not everybody accepts that.
Right.
There was a lot of pushback in a lot of areas about there were other family men on the board at the time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, I'm setting an example here. Stay home with your family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Do the routine, and then let's come and talk about church stuff. Let's not take you out of family in order to get to that stuff.
Right. And here we are now with kids that want to be around us.
Can't get them to leave.
There are extenuating circumstances that most people are aware of, but they want to be here. You know, we've got a daughter getting married in 2 weeks, and they live in Concord. They want to be down here every weekend. It's like,
That's our
okay,
goal.
Friday night,
Yeah.
they're coming on down. Let's have dinner together. And
The goal is connection.
it's connection.
I remember early on in my career, we had with it. Now our company has grown significantly, so our group of top producers have grown too. But we used to keep, we had special things we do for the top 10, and I was fortunate to be in that group of the top 10, and one of the things that we did was we had the one of the CEOs and founders of our company joined us on a call, and this was going to be the day he was going to be on there, and I think as business builders, there's this natural sense of, okay, well, he's blazed a trail, he's built the path that I'm following. I want to be able to take in from that knowledge and wisdom. And I recall that I remember that call so vividly because I don't know what my expectations were about what we were going to talk about, but he said, first and foremost, started the call and he said, guys, you're blazing the trail for our organization. You're producing at a high level. You are busy. You're doing great. Let me just be the first to tell you that I don't want to be, at your kid's graduation and we've been celebrating you for all the things that you've done and your success, yet your kid looks at me and says, yeah, but he was never home.
Right.
Yeah.
I never knew him, or we didn't get to spend time together, and
Right.
all these things. And he said, look, I just want to start off by telling you that there's one thing here that's more important than anything else, and that is your family. And so I do feel that while I have built some good practices, it's because I've been planted in good soil.
Yeah,
Our
it
organization
really has
kind of
been.
has these pillars of placing, priority on faith, on family, on community, and then business, and so and when you work and you operate out of that, you really start to honor the person across from you in a much different way. You see them as family, or you see them as your neighbor, you see them as part of your community, as opposed to seeing them as
competition.
Or just a transaction, or just another deal.
Right.
And so there's this great value that's placed on the other person to say, there's love and value there.
Right.
There's honor there.
Well, on that, you got something.
I'm probably going to.
One mind.
I'm actually going to
right.
shift gears just for a second.
Oh,
So if you've
okay.
got a
Well, I
closing
have
comment there.
just a closing comment there. For many of the people that are listening, business people, business leaders, family is like that.
Yeah.
That jewel of family is something that they do highly prize, but don't always know how to protect it in that kind of way. So I think a lot of what you're saying is going to be very helpful for people. At least to get people thinking. Well, am I home at night? Or do we have a family routine at night time? Do my kids know that I'm there for them, or am I just a stranger that only kind of shows up on weekends?
What was that book that you read? That it was like about how we behave in the corporate setting, but excuse me, we don't incorporate those things at
The
home.
3 big questions for a frantic family.
That's a good one.
Patrick
Okay.
Lencioni,
Let's
yeah.
put that out
Yeah.
there. That sounds
So
like
that-
it needs
the
to be.
3 big questions for a frantic family. Patrick Lucioni.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
get a hold of it.
It's a great.
It is good.
I mean, actually, I didn't read it.
Okay,
but
so
I
what
got
are the
cliff
3 big
notes.
questions?
I don't recall the 3 big questions, but the story kind of plays out as a fable, and there you have this this person who his job, he's a consultant, and he comes in to help businesses with their mission statement, with their priorities, with the pillars, with the how to build a business and how to make it thrive. Yet in his home, the most important business of his life is falling apart, and it's frantic, and they're scattered, and you've got to go here, there, and you feel like you're getting pulled in every direction without being very intentional.
Right.
So it really kind of built this mindset for us. We have a mission statement for our family.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have our pillars. We've got our
Rally
values.
cries.
We've
Yeah.
got
Yep.
rally cries. We've got
Yep.
goals that we set
I
as
love
a
that.
family.
Yeah,
Rally cries.
rally cries.
That's
Yeah.
That's a cool
fascinating.
concept. Share that.
The rally cry is intended to be a short, maybe 4 to 8 week push that you say, okay, here in our family, this is the most important thing. We're going to rally around it, and it just brings to light this understanding that this is a season. It's not going to be forever, but we do need to intentionally focus around this. And so then, when we get invited to a thing, or if we've got,
Well, for example, I was trying to hit a goal in my company, and it was requiring me to really hustle a good bit and be away from the home, but just for a short season. And so understanding that as a family, I'm like, okay, we're all in on this goal because the reward was great. And so we're like, let's go for it. So that meant, okay, Dad, you might have to take over dinner a couple times, this month. You might have to do bedtime routine alone a couple times, but this is just our rally cry. This is not a new normal. We're not setting a new pace. It has an end in sight, and then we go back.
So good.
I think that's really important, though, especially with young kids in the mix, because every change is permanent.
Right.
For a kid, every change is permanent because a week feels like a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
And and if this is how it's going to be forever,
oh no,
then
my whole world,
right. Exactly. So giving them the assurance that no, your life hasn't been upended. Your life isn't, different forever now.
Right.
It is for a season. It teaches them about seasons.
Seasons,
I think it's a
right.
really
And thanks so much,
powerful
Joseph.
thing.
He's just put a link up there onto
Thank
Amazon
you,
for the
Joseph.
book.
Oh, good.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Amazing.
thank
Yeah,
you.
very good.
It's helpful for
Good
the
job.
parents too, because so oftentimes we do put together these great plans. We put together these great disciplines, and our intentions are great.
Yeah.
But then life happens, and you get faced with something that when my parents moved in next door, our daily routine changed for a little while because we were. That was a rally cry.
Right.
And,
Such a
when
great
things
concept.
happen, it's easy to just fall away and
not get back to
not
the
get back
routine.
to it.
We're
Not
coming
get
right
to
back
it.
to this hyper-intentionality again.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you get nowhere without, not just intentionality, but hyper-intentionality. And again, this isn't treadmill stuff.
Right.
This is the stuff that actually, and this is where I was going to tread as a beautiful transition. This is where we shift needles on nations.
That's right.
And I think we don't shift a needle on nation without intentionality. And we've all been around Christian community for a long time. Between us, I couldn't even begin to imagine the amount of church services, prayer groups, prayer meetings, small group meetings, committee meetings that we've all been on. That would be we'd probably all go, oh my gosh, I'm walking away now if we all added them all up. And the thing is, with all of that, while they're good and they've all got their purpose, and I certainly by no means want to devalue them, I look back and go, the amount of needle moving on a nation that activity produced, versus some of the things we're talking about right now, comparably, I think it pales to a very distant second or third or fourth in its significance.
Yes.
And one question in transition is that with that in mind, what role, and you're both business owner and business leader as well, what role do you see business in shaping the community in such a way to shift a needle on a nation towards a nation that becomes more towards focused on the kingdom of God? What role do you see business and marketplace in that? It used to be really interested in your own perspectives, because you've got two very different things going on with business ownership and business leadership and a team and all the people around that. How do you see that?
That's a great question. Again, I'm fortunate to be a part of an organization that is trying to accomplish this, and it's been really eye-opening. I think the greatest calling for us as a corporation and what we're doing is really loving the people that come to serve on our in our company, and starting there first and foremost, because I think that's where we've seen the greatest impact. I think a lot of companies, it's easy to be an organization that is kingdom focused and outward facing, the way that you treat and you value your customers, and you're operating with great integrity and honor, and you're really representing the Lord through your business and the marketplace well. That is honorable. That is great. But then the question is, well, how many people have been awakened to Christ in them inside of the organization? How many people's marriages were saved or restored inside of their organization, or was addiction, handled and overcome and conquered inside of their organization.
Those are real questions, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have an organization, we've got 5,000 employees, and somebody is going through something every day.
Every day.
Yes.
Yeah. A trial, tragedy, trauma, or tribulation.
That's right.
They're
That's
always
right.
there.
And so very early on, we started what's called our Love Works, and our founder defines love as acting in the best long-term interest for another, and so it's a verb. It's not a feeling, it's a verb. We act in love, and so with that, this piece, in the church. I've been joking with Carla. I say, ministry is business and business is ministry, and there's really no difference.
That's right.
And
That's right.
so if we were a church, you would call this one of our
Outreach.
ministries.
Yeah, right.
Their
Right.
outreaches.
But inside of corporate America, it's called a program or something. But basically, it's a fund that our employees can donate into, and to the foundation, and our company matches those funds as well. But really, they are there to address the needs of the people inside of our community. So we are one church. We are a community, and we are the body first to step in. I've had close friends who have had personal struggles, and their organization says, we're going to give you a short-term time off and what do you call that, leave of absence, and we're rooting
Isolation.
for you.
Yeah.
And
Really?
when you're ready, our doors will be open.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's what they're handed. And and so I'm grateful to be in an organization that says, you're going through that.
Right.
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm
I'm so
come
glad
around
you're going
you.
through that here.
Yeah.
What can we do? How can we step in?
Yeah.
How can we help?
Yeah.
How can we serve you? How can our body, the rest of us, come around you?
And I would imagine there's not too many companies in America that do things that way.
Right.
I love how the CEO of his company said, and you probably will tell it better, but how he made, and this is something practical that businesses can do, is that he made love and value. That's like their slogan, their motto, or whatever. He made that their logo because working with people, it can get sticky. People can be prickly, and it's going to have some tough days. But he said something about like, I have to write that down every day because of a company memo or a company this. I have to look at it on a T-shirt, on a something.
Yeah.
It's there, and it's a reminder every single day and every single moment of what we're here to do. We're here to love and value, regardless of how I'm feeling in the moment or how this may have rubbed me or whatnot.
Yeah.
We're here to love and value.
So speaking of love and value then, talk to us a testimony. We like here at Anathan, we call them fresh demonies, fresh things that are just falling off your lips. And really, that where we encounter the Father or we see him encounter others through observation or something we're right on the front lines with ourselves. What's a fresh demony, a fresh story of how you guys have seen God at work?
Me?
Carla's got a fresh demone.
Oh,
Okay.
my car chat this morning.
Yes.
Okay, this is hot, fresh manna out of the oven of heaven.
Great.
Should be able to
Awesome.
smell it through
Right,
the
wafting
air.
through the air. So forgive me as I sort of stumble through some words here because I haven't fully pulled it all down. But gosh, really, this is just something that has shifted in the past 12 hours of my life. So we're talking super fresh.
Okay.
But I these past few weeks, I have just been feeling so down, so broken, almost like a pity party, but at the same time, it felt very real and just, I mean, it's the best way I can describe it. However, for, years now, and really more intentionally this past year, the Lord has just been giving me so many beautiful revelations of my identity in him, my oneness in him, how I rest in him and receive from him. So everything that I was going through, I knew was a lie. And so I was more frustrated less about the circumstances, more about like, I know this isn't real, but yet I can't seem to get out of it. And we were just chatting this morning about it, and I was really spending time with the Lord first, and then I was sharing with him what came out of that time. Was just, there's when you live Anathan from above, you get this beautiful view of reality, big R reality, because we say, with our kids, truth is what is real. That's something we say in our house all the time. Truth is what is real. And what is true is rooted in the eternal, because if it's temporal, then it's not eternal, and if it's not eternal, it's not real. So it can't be true. So we have to let go of those things. And so I'm in this moment with this feeling, and not to negate any of the feelings that I was having, because they felt real, but that's why they're called feelings. And they're there to teach you something, but not to guide you. And I was allowing them to guide me for about 2 weeks. And in that guiding, it was more, it's like taking the feelings and putting them over your eyes. Because, if the light in you is dark, how great is that darkness? Yeah. The truth is, like, we're in the light. We're in the light. He's all around us. The air we breathe is him. And so that's real. That's reality. That's truth. But in the moment, I was taking the feeling and putting it over my eyes, and it was causing the light around me to seem dark. Wow. And in doing so, when you're blindfolded, you're inevitably to someone hurt yourself or others along the way. And I was hurting myself. I was hurting my husband. I was hurting my children, just in this blindness of my feelings. And so this moment, I'm telling you, it's super fresh. This morning, I was just sitting with the Lord, and just like, why was I feeling that? Because I know it's not true. And I love what you said on Friday night. For those of you watching, go back and watch The Gate. Shameless plug for The Gate, because that's where we go to. Yeah. But it was so beautiful what you talked about, like the disconnect of like the head and the heart, and the disconnect, and how we need to recalibrate. And that is so true. And I know that. I know that I just need to recalibrate from this disconnection I was having from truth and what I was feeling, and align those back up. And that's usually my go-to response, is just a quick get back into connection with the Lord. But the truth is, I'm never disconnected from him. But in that, and I have the point here, it's coming. But in that disconnect that I was feeling, not truth, but feeling, that disconnect actually allows me to connect with other people that are feeling broken. And I have on my phone, just revelation after revelation after revelation, not just in my phone, but in my head and swirling in my heart and all around me, that the truth of who I am, how God loves me, how he never leaves me, never forsakes me. And I can bring people in that, what feels like disconnect, I can connect with someone else who's feeling broken, come alongside them and say, hey, there's the feel, felt, found. We hear that in sales. Like, I understand how you feel. Yeah. I felt the same way. Right. Let me show you how I found the way out. Good. Just bringing that in.
Feel, felt, found. It's a very helpful handle right there when you're walking alongside of someone. I love that.
Because I was really trying hard to recalibrate and reconnect my heart and my head with what was going on. But in this morning, in that moment, he said, I don't want you to miss what this feeling could teach you. Right. It's not your guide. It's your teacher. And let it teach you something that you can then, something that I've been saying now in our house, like my sort of personal mantra is generational health. We talk about generational wealth, but generational health is something I want to pass down to my kids. You can't pass down what you don't possess. And so we've been spending a lot of intentionality around body, soul, spirit. So, body, I started in February being intentional about going to the gym Monday through Friday. That is hard. That's not my go-to. But I was like, how can I expect my kids to to be healthy if I'm not being healthy. We do that with our food, our soul, our mind, our will, our emotions, and just taking the intentionality to nourish those with our conversations, what we're listening to, how we're feeding ourselves, and spirit. And so I want to pass these things down to my kids more than just wealth, but there's wealth in that, but it's the generational health that I want to pass down to my kids. So that's sort of
That's so good. And
Keep an eye on these two Romero kids here, 'cause they're going to grow up to be absolute world changers. Their parents are world changers, but their kids are going to be.
They're quite special. They are quite special.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And what a great, again,
That's
it's clear we're going to
awesome.
have to get you guys on here again soon.
Seriously, we do this, don't we?
We're
We get
literally
this
flying just at the very, a millimetre deep of the
conversation going.
Just go so deep on
So
it.
much to unpack.
But I'm looking at our time there.
Another
We are
time
getting ready to land. But in the interest of the power of new and to stay true to our theme of the new things, what is, and this is the biggest question of the day, as you all know, what is the latest new thing that you purchased online, and what was it for?
Well,
Carla does it.
fresh out of the box yesterday.
I just pick up the Amazon box,
Right.
break them down.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a full-time job.
That is a full-time job.
I understand.
So fresh out of the box yesterday was grounding sheets.
Grounding sheets.
Right?
Okay, tell me
I
about that.
know.
Tell me about that.
So I am an indoor girl.
Right.
Nature and I are having a hard time connecting. So I like to be inside, but I understand the benefits of being out in nature, getting your vitamin D and all the clean air and all the things. But it's hard for me. And there's so much science around grounding and, connecting with the earth and what it does for your body. So some genius person invented sheets that are essentially 10% silver and then 90% cotton, and you plug the sheet into the grounding part of your wall outlet, the little circle one at the bottom, and it generates a grounding force for you to lay there on for 7 to 8 hours that you lay there on. So, I mean, I'm not going to spend 8 hours even during the day grounding. So
Wow.
if I can ground at night, yes.
There you go.
Great, I love that.
Grounding
Because for us, I mean,
sheets.
so much truth to that.
Yes.
We travel a lot. And one of the things that I do when we get back is I'll take my shoes off and go for a walk in the grass for a
Yes.
while.
You
Yes.
do.
So again, get re-grounded. It actually helps
Re-grounded.
with jet lag.
Yes.
Yeah.
The same kind of, I've noticed the difference because
It's-
a lot to compare and contrast again. It
Yeah. It
really
really
helps
is.
me.
There's science behind it, but I can't explain it.
I know. It's a
Feels
little
good.
above my head. Right.
Anything
But
you
the,
put into the earth.
inflammation, settles, your mood elevates. Just also, we're meant to connect, with God's
There you
creation. And so He has created sheets for me, for the indoor girl in me.
Grounding sheets.
Grounding
Okay,
sheets.
grounding
That's
sheets. That is
fantastic.
Night
great.
number one was good.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
You didn't plug it into the
Into
hot
the
wire.
wrong-
Yeah, I mean, hey,
Yeah.
like I don't know if it was the sheets of the Lord, but I did wake up this morning. I told you it was hot, fresh manna. I woke up
There you
clear.
go.
It cleared. My head was super clear this morning, and I was ready to go. So
Well, that's good. Well, we got the grounding sheets version of the Romeros
There
today.
you go. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so
Love
good.
it.
Well, hey, next week we get the honour of spending time with.
Grant Vipers.
Yeah.
Grant Vipers is a amazing person. We've met him through some friends in the UK and have spent a good deal of time with him virtually and in person.
One of the hats he wears, and Grant, not unlike these guys here, has just got a really nuanced understanding of the things of God, yet is still figuring it out. And they're the kind of people we like hanging out with.
Right.
That we know enough to be dangerous and to go after everything, but we recognise we don't know half of what we need to know in order to keep going.
That's the truth.
But it's this beautiful tension, and Grant is like that, and just the lens he looks through from the UK perspective is going to be fresh, it's going to be nuanced, you're not going to want to miss a moment of it here
Yes.
again next week. So
Yep.
Jonatan and Carla, it's been great.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
to hang out with you
much.
guys.
Thank
Yeah, it's such
you.
a treat.
Here at the
Thank you
Power
so
of You.
much.
And hey, you'll get this content, if you're listening to it, you've already worked out how to find it. You can also find it on Apple Podcasts, you're going to find it on Spotify. Our YouTube channel is at Anathan-Pathfinder. You can find us on anathan.co as well, and anathan.co/Pathfinder. Also email us, you'll see that on the ticker below that, at info@anathan.co. anathan.co. We love having conversations around spiritual leadership that works. We have our coaching and consulting side, obviously, as well as micro communities that we're setting up around the world. We just love conversations with people around all of those sorts of things. And of course, our donations. You'll see the link on the ticker below. Also, it'll be in your session notes. And if you're giving from the US, a US resident or a US-based business, of course, your donation is tax deductible. We are a 501c3. So, yeah, feel free to donate there as well. So, remember, God wants to take you further and deeper into encounters with his always perfect love for greater impact, because he wants to love the world through you. God bless you guys. We love you, and we can't wait to see you here again next week at The Power of New.